So Nintendo just released Wave 3 of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass, and I don't think there's any doubt in anyone's mind that this is by far the best wave yet. Everything from the graphics to the course selections to the changes made to those courses from their original versions, everything has just been kicked up to an 11 in this wave, and I absolutely cannot wait to see what Nintendo does with the final 3 waves of this DLC. But if all these courses are so good, that begs the question, which one's the best? Which is what I'm going to be figuring out today in my ranking of all 8 courses in Wave 3 of the Booster Course Pass. Keep in mind that this ranking is entirely comprised of my opinions. It is not fact, it's not the definitive list in any way. And if you guys have a different ranking for the courses, make sure to let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think of each course. But with all that out of the way, let's roll the intro and get into my ranking of the Wave 3 courses from the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. And starting off the list with our last place track, we have Tour London Loop. And even though I think this is the worst from the Wave 3 tracks, I still really enjoy this course, which is really a testament to how good Wave 3 is when you compare it to Waves 1 and 2. Graphically, I think this is the second best city course we've seen in the Booster Course Pass, right behind New York Minute, which is surprising given that London Loop was actually one of the worst looking courses back in Mario Kart Tour. The road itself has some beautiful textures, and the grass has finally been changed from the solid green that we've seen in Tour and some of the other Booster Course Pass tracks. While most of the background assets still have pretty simplistic textures and colors, they at least now have a sort of bumpiness to them that makes them look like they're actually made of concrete, rather than just being solid blocks of color. And pretty much anything that's actually on the track does have a pretty good amount of detail. For example, the double-decker buses that I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see in one of the base game tracks, if one of the base game tracks was themed around London. But obviously, this course's graphics didn't save it from getting the last place spot. My main complaint with this course is there are just too many sections where you're not really doing anything, and you're just driving on a road with nothing that's really exciting on it. Sure, the change humps are fun to avoid, but there aren't really that many of them. And though it's really cool that they become unchained on the final lap, they again only cover very small portions of the track. And the bridge in the middle of the course that raises and lowers is really cool as well. However, it's only on 2 of the 3 laps, and once again, it takes up a very small portion of the course. I think it overall just would have been a much better course if some more obstacles were added to make it more engaging. Some of the turns on the course do have mushroom cuts that are really fun to pull off, given that you have to avoid the chain chomp to do them. But too many of the other turns don't have anything to them. No off-road, no way to make them faster, just a turn in the road, and that's it. It would have been so much nicer if these either had off-road sections themselves, or once again, if some enemies or obstacles were added. With all that said, this course is still really fun to play during a regular race with items, because thanks to Mario Kart's item system, you're never really going to be doing absolutely nothing on a track. You're always going to have to worry about someone either hitting you with an item or you hitting someone else with an item yourself. Because of that, even the most boring portions of this course are still really exciting when you're playing with other players or against CPUs. However, if you ever try playing this course in time trials, it does start to get pretty boring pretty quickly, which is why this is in the last place spot. But then our 8th place track does fix a lot of the problems I had with London Loop, and that track is Tour Berlin Byways. While this course certainly doesn't look as graphically good as London Loop, it definitely makes up for it in terms of gameplay. Plus, it still looks a lot better than most of the city tracks in the rest of the Booster Course Pass that we've seen so far. But before we talk about the track itself, I just want to quickly mention the music. I didn't really talk about London Loop's music because it was honestly pretty forgettable, but Berlin Byways music is pretty much a masterpiece. It almost sounds like if you took the electric style of Electrodrome from Mario Kart 8's base game and then combined it with a live orchestra with strings and brass, and it sounds absolutely incredible. Take a listen. The Mario Kart band really hit a home run with this song. But onto the track itself, the addition of cars already makes this a much more engaging course than London Loop, as the way they're positioned actually makes it very difficult to avoid them. This requires you to constantly be on your toes, ducking and weaving through the cars on a road that is just wide enough to be challenging but not overly difficult. In my opinion, these cars honestly save the course, as they make a lot of the sections that would otherwise be boring a lot more exciting to play. The course also has a bunch of mushroom shortcuts that are really fun to take, and each of the changing laps feels really fun to drive, and they feel distinct from one another. However, one of the best things about this course, in my opinion, are the addition of Womps, which we have never seen in a console Mario Kart game before. The Womps act very similar to Thwomps in the way that they fall over, and if you're under them when they do that, then you get crushed and you're slowed down for a bit. However, if you drive up to them while they're still falling over and they haven't gotten back up yet, then you can actually use them as ramps, which in my opinion is a super creative choice that Nintendo decided to make. These sadly only appear on lap 3, but in my opinion it is such a cool inclusion and it adds so much more charm to this course. But moving on from Berlin Byways, our 6th place spot is 3DS Rock Mountain. And frankly, I'm really disappointed in this course, not because it's bad in any way, but because it had so much potential to be something so much greater than it turned out to be. The reason it's up this far on this list is because gameplay-wise this track is super solid, but it falls incredibly short graphically. Like the city courses, the grass and road textures actually look pretty good. However, the actual rock of Rock Mountain looks absolutely abysmal, using just a solid color for a texture with pretty much no bumpiness even at all like there was in the city courses. Pretty much all of these textures have been ported straight from Tour, which is really frustrating given that there are already some really great textures in the base Mario Kart 8 game that could have been used to really improve this course graphically. Nintendo wouldn't have even had to make new textures. They could have just taken ones from older courses that are already in the game. But moving on from the course's graphics to the thing that's actually good about it, its gameplay, let's talk about the actual layout of the track. You start off on a winding road on the side of the mountain itself, where there was sadly a shortcut ramp that was removed. I don't really know why Nintendo decided to remove this, but now it's gone. After that section, you go into a cave which has a few pillars inside that are slightly difficult to avoid and they offer a little bit of challenge. And then you get to the main portion of the course, the glider sections. Once you go off the glider ramp, there will actually be some pipes emitting air that you're able to trick off of, giving you a bit of a boost. And there's also a massive stretch of off-road along the side of this section that if you decide to go along the ground, you're able to skip entirely if you have, say, a golden mushroom or possibly triple mushrooms if you're on 200cc. There are multiple glider ramps in this section, meaning that if you fall to the ground and you decide you want to go back up onto a glider, then you're able to do so. And that takes you to the final section of the course, which is an anti-gravity section on a very steep incline. This is filled with boost panels and spin boosters, and when you reach the end of it, you go off of one final glider ramp that actually leads you into a shortcut that you can take at the beginning of the next lap. This shortcut uses these same pipes that are emitting air from earlier in the course, and it actually saves quite a lot of time if you're able to make it. Overall, the track design on this course is absolutely phenomenal, and it really is such a shame that it was held back by its poor graphics. Even the music is super catchy, as always with the Mario Kart band, and I honestly really hope that this course is remade in a future Mario Kart in a way that really does it justice. But then moving on to our 5th place spot, we have GBA Boo Lake. And given that this course is originally from Mario Kart Super Circuit, it has gotten a huge upgrade in being brought over to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This course looks drop dead gorgeous when compared to most of the other Booster Course Pass tracks, and honestly, I don't think many people would have batted an eye at all if this was included in the original Mario Kart 8, save for a few of the assets in the very far background that you can see are a little bit low poly and have some not so detailed textures. The music has also gotten a huge upgrade as well, being far less repetitive and having a lot more variety in different parts of its song. But aesthetics aren't the only thing that have been changed in this course, as though the layout is pretty much the same as it was in Super Circuit, the way that layout is executed has been vastly changed, primarily with an anti-gravity section that leads you underwater into the Boo Lake itself. The turn that starts off the anti-gravity section, as well as most of the other ones in this course, are actually really difficult to make on 200cc, and it's really satisfying to pull them off. There's also a really cool shortcut you're able to do after you first first go underwater, which you can actually do shroomless if you have a shell, given that the only thing you would need a mushroom for is to break through the cardboard bushes. Scattered throughout the course, there are also a bunch of trick ramps, which add some variety to the course, and while you're in the underwater section, you also have to worry about running into the fish bones, which make you spin out. However, this course is extremely short. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's the shortest course we've seen in the Booster Course Pass yet, though I think it makes up for this because pretty much every second of the track is filled with fun. However, I do think it's a little bit disappointing that this track didn't reach its full potential, as the version in Tour that it's based off of did have a top route that you were able to go on instead of the typical bottom route, which is the only one accessible here. You can actually still see the supports for this top route that have been left into the model in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version of this course. The track is still loads of fun without the additional route, but I really do wish it was included here. But then in our 4th place spot is the course that is arguably the best looking graphically in this wave, or at the very least second best, and that is Tour Merry Mountain. I absolutely love this course, and honestly I think if this was in a previous wave it could have made the top of this list, but given how good the rest of Wave 3 is, it made it to the halfway point. Like I just mentioned, this course looks absolutely stunning, easily being on par with the base game courses in Mario Kart 8. From the wet bricks at the start of the course to the little twinkles you see in the snow as you drive by, it is very clear that Nintendo put so much effort into updating this course when bringing it over from Tour to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The course also nails the Christmas theme. Not only is the Christmas village that the course takes place in absolutely on point, but the music is incredible as well, even featuring some jingle bells in the background. The layout of the course is also really fun as well. You start up by driving up the mountain, where you can either take the normal road, or you can go up the train tracks that the flying Christmas train takes when it takes off. That same train will then go along the rest of the course and drop down coins to you, which in my opinion is a really charming touch. Once you finally reach the top of the mountain, you're going to see a huge turn that has a half pipe, which is super fun to trick off of, and it's so cool to see these return to console Mario Karts after not seeing them since Mario Kart Wii. And on this turn, there's also a massive off-road shortcut you can take, which actually only requires one mushroom. If you cut through the off-road here, you're able to skip this entire turn, saving a huge amount of time. But after this turn, there's really just a long downhill straightaway that's in an anti-gravity section that really doesn't have much to do other than go off of a few spin boosters. There is, however, a glider ramp that appears in lap 2 and 3, which you can then take down to the finish line. I honestly just really wish this portion of the course was a bit more exciting, because everything else in the track is just absolutely amazing. And I really can't believe I've put it this low on this list. That really goes to show how incredible the rest of the Wave 3 tracks are. And speaking of the rest of the Wave 3 tracks, it's time to go on to our 3rd place spot, which is DS Peach Gardens. And while I don't think this course is graphically as good as Tour Merry Mountain, it still comes pretty darn close, looking absolutely incredible. This course was already so much fun back in Mario Kart DS and Mario Kart Wii, but this version in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, in my opinion, is better than both of them. While there have been some simplifications made to the route on laps 1 and 2, such as the second hedge maze being changed to a roundabout with the giant piranha plant, I think what happens in lap 3 more than makes up for it. Like the city tracks from Tour, this course actually has a changing route on lap 3, having you go backwards through the course on its final lap. And in this final lap, there's also a glider ramp that allows you to go over the hedge maze. And there's also a shortcut you're able to do here with the topiaries of Luigi and Peach. Since they're topiaries and therefore not completely solid, you're actually able to go right through them and not have to go around them, taking less time. And I think this is a really cool detail, especially since it's one that we haven't seen in any other previous versions of the course. Affecting the course as a whole, however, and not just the final lap, there are now multi-moles in the final section that you're able to trick off of, thanks to their mechanic of digging under the ground and causing burrows that you're able to trick off of in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Interestingly, the item boxes in the hedge maze also no longer follow the chain chomps. However, I do think the way they're laid out is pretty well done. If you want to get a double item box, you have to go to the far sides, which means that you're going to be taking a less optimal route. However, if you take the faster route by going down the middle, you get a single item box. Things like this that implement risk versus reward are some of my favorite things to see in Mario Kart tracks, and I'm glad something like this was added into Peach Gardens. The course was already absolutely incredible with just its standard layout, but the fact that it has a backwards lap at the end is just so much fun and makes it one of my favorite courses in the Booster Course Pass yet. But it's honestly not that surprising that it only got 3rd place, as it's going up against our 2nd place spot, which is one of the best Mario Kart tracks of all time, Wii Maple Treeway. Like Peach Gardens, this course isn't as graphically impressive as Merry Mountain or our first place spot, however, its gameplay more than makes up for it, and it still looks graphically really good. As the name of the course implies, on this track you're racing across a giant maple tree, and the autumn leaves look absolutely incredible in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's lighting engine. The music has also gotten a substantial upgrade, now featuring live instruments from the Mario Kart band, and it sounds so good, once again nailing that autumn theme. Right at the start of the course, you're hit with a shortcut, which though you would normally need a mushroom for it, you are able to technically hop through the off-road and still take it without losing very much time at all. In fact, I still think it might be a little bit faster. This will then take you to the cannon that shoots you up to the top of the maple tree, where you drive along Maple Treeway's giant branches. These are also covered in leaf piles that if you hit them will sometimes spit out mushrooms that can help you in the race or potentially send you flying off the edge if you're not careful. You then reach the top of the tree, which has two wigglers that are walking around, and you spin out if you run into them. They're not that hard to avoid, but they're still a really nice obstacle, and they are animated really well as well. You then start descending back down from the tree, which takes you onto a turn that has a half pipe that was removed in the Mario Kart 7 version of the course, but is back again here. You then go through a hole in the trunk of the tree and onto a glider section that takes you back to the area where you start the lap again. However, this isn't the end of the course, as there are two paths that you're able to take. There are the paths on either side of the main road that allow you to get an item but are slightly slower, or there's the main road itself that is slightly faster and it allows you to trick off of the roots of the trees, giving you a little bit of a boost. From start to finish, this course is nothing but non-stop fun, and it's no wonder that everyone was so excited to see it return in the Booster Course Pass. Honestly, I think there are only a few tracks in all of Mario Kart history that could have possibly beaten this course, and one of them happens to be our first place spot. The course that is widely considered to be the best Rainbow Road of all time, 3DS Rainbow Road. If you hadn't guessed already, this course is the one that's in contention with Merry Mountain to be the best looking graphically in the Wave and in the Booster Course Pass as a whole. The moving rainbow texture that we see on the main road is like nothing we've ever seen in a Mario Kart track before, and it's so cool in my opinion that Nintendo has managed to distinguish the 4 different rainbow roads in this game visually. They all have their own distinct visual style, and this course's music is absolutely incredible as well. Like Mario Kart Double Dash's Rainbow Road, this course features a few elements from Mario Kart 64's Rainbow Road theme, which are incorporated beautifully into the main melody. But enough about the graphics and music, because the best thing by far about this course is its gameplay. As of right now, this is the only Rainbow Road to be designed around the concept of having 3 separate sections rather than driving around the same lap 3 times. And no, N64 Rainbow Road doesn't count since that course originally did have 3 separate laps, and it was just shortened to a 1-lap course in Mario Kart 8 since it was a little bit too long to keep in its original state. I'm pretty sure it was actually the longest track in Mario Kart history when it was still 3 laps. Personally, I think it would have worked better as a 2-lap course rather than a 1-lap course. However, that's getting a little bit off topic. All 3 of the sections in 3DS Rainbow Road are filled to the brim with fun. There is never a moment of downtime. One of the coolest things about this course, in my opinion, is that you're actually driving through the solar system, which is shown as soon as you start the course. You start off by driving around a winding turn around Neptune, and this leads you to a portion of the track that has multiple disjointed parts of Rainbow Road that you use boost panels to jump between. And then the concepts of these previous 2 sections are joined together in the portion where you go around Saturn instead of Neptune, and it's on multiple disjointed parts of Rainbow Road that you jump between with ramps. This is less than 30 seconds into the track, and it's already introduced you to 2 separate ideas and had the time to combine them. Once again, the track design on this course is absolutely insane. After you go around Saturn, there's the somewhat odd inclusion of a rainbow mushroom that you can bounce off of that takes you into a section of Wavy Road that has a bunch of item boxes and that you can perform a bunch of tricks on. And so far, this has all only been in lap 1. At the start of lap 2, you go into a glider section that takes you onto the rings of Saturn. At first, there are some holes in the rings, meaning that you're going to have to be extra careful if you don't want to fall through. But then as you progress to around halfway through the ring itself, then you'll find some ring boosters that if you go through, you get a bit of a boost. And these are arranged in such a way that you can just barely weave in between them all to get all the boosts. And this takes you into yet another glider section as you go off of the end of the ring. There are then a few winding turns with some boost panels on them that lead you into another section of Wavy Road and this time there are holes in the road that have item boxes in them, meaning that if you time your tricks just right, you're able to collect them without falling through. And after you either fall through one of the holes or go off the end of the road, you fall down to the moon. This section is of course in anti-gravity. You're able to trick off of all the craters and also get item boxes or coins above them if you time your trick correctly to get enough height. There are also some bouncing chain chomp balls as obstacles, as if you hit them, then you'll end up spinning out. And this leads you into the final lap, where the music starts picking up as always with Mario Kart tracks on the final lap, but this time the course music is starting with the N64 motif. And I have never felt more motivated in any Mario Kart track than the moment I first heard this playing with the N64 theme starting off the lap. It is absolutely incredible how well the theming is done in this course. The final lap starts you off by going into one of the strangest but also one of the most fun set pieces in Mario Kart, which is the spinning tube thing that you go into that's filled with boost panels spinning all around you, and when you reach the end there are alternating glider and boost panels. And this allows you to choose one of two different paths. If you take the glider ramp, then you go through multiple ring boosts in the sky, while if you take the regular boost panel, then you'll be going off of ramps that you can trick off of on the ground. Both of these paths then converge into the final giant steep turn that takes you into the final stretch towards the finish line. There is one final disjointed part of the road where there's a trickable ramp, and as you boost off of that ramp, you go straight through the finish line, and this course is just so much fun, once again from start to finish. I honestly don't know if any course in any future wave will be able to top this. And as it stands, I don't think this is only the best course in Wave 3 of the Booster Course Pass, but the best course in the entire Booster Course Pass yet. But what do you all think? Do you think 3DS Rainbow Road should be at the bottom of this list because they changed what some of the planets are in this version? Let me know down in the comments below, and while you're down there, you might as well like the video. If you got this far in the video, you probably did like it. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and you guys get notified whenever I upload more videos like this one. This is also the first video where I'm using my new microphone that I got for my birthday a few days ago. So I'm curious what you all think of the audio quality in this video compared to past videos. But that's pretty much everything that I have to say for this video. So with all that out of the way, thank you all for watching. I'm Jacob with the Game Block, signing off.